There's been a lot of action in the SRF Weekend Warriors season, but the season itself is starting to come to a bit of a close. We enter the penultimate round of the series here at Watkins, Glen, a home track for SYM TV. My name is Finney Nakuna here with Eric Mickey covering the penultimate round here with the championship battle. It's looking a bit distant, but especially at a track as hectic as we expect Watkins Glen to be, the championship battle can change on a dime.
Yeah, we are here today at Watkins Glen, and we are not running the boot course. We're running the short cup series version of the track, which is going to be very fast and furious, and a lot of drafting. It could be pretty hectic out there for people who are maybe a little bit unprepared for how little they're going to be able to separate themselves from the pack. But right now we're in the middle of qualifying with Felix Simoes sitting in P1. Which is important for him as he is only about 12 points away from second place in the championship standings behind David Gaspers.
Absolutely. Cut down to track. You can see again everyone coming through the NASCAR layout, cutting through the bus stop again, making this track only 7 turns, not including the turns in the bus stop, pretty much counting that as one turn in of itself. But you can see some boys there also with Austin Winter, who's conveniently in second place in qualifying at the moment. So getting ready to get down to it, and again, the lap times you expect, especially with the lap shortened as it is, the lap time is going to be very close between these drivers. In fact, Winner only 0.05 of a second off of Felix Simoes' best time. So qualifying going to be very close between these drivers. You can see the track relatively warm, 109 degrees on the track, 73 in the air. So it's not exactly slick, but you're definitely going to want to be careful out there, Eric.
Yeah, we can see down in turn one, there's a lot of speed you can gain by overrunning the corner, but if you're going too far out there, you're just killing your lap time a little bit from there. But if you're cutting it too short, you're also hurting your lap times. So there's a very fine balance to getting through turn one here, and considering how much they're using the runoff area here at the end of turn one, I'm assuming that there are not any track limit rules in play for this series here today, so that'll be interesting to watch as particularly in the opening lap of this race. You probably see a lot of guys go wide and then have to find themselves back on track before they hit that grass.
Yeah, and actually, since we're talking about the track itself, let's go through a little bit of a track map that we have here. So you head down the start-finish line into turn one, as we were just talking about. You can easily go wide or cut yourself a little bit short. There's a fine line to get out of that corner, but the key thing is you're going to want to maintain momentum. Why? Because you're going to be heading up full throttle through the S's, right, left, then right again, and then you head to the bus stop.
Yeah, that bus stop's going to be really tricky. You want to take as much curbing as you can, but there are ways in which that you can hit it the wrong way, and it'll really upset the car on exit and kill your entry speed into the carousel. Big sweeping right-hand corner that you really need to try to get through the center and exit really well off of, because that sets you up for a passing opportunity down into the left-hander, I believe, turn 6.
Yep.
Before you get a quick little short shoot before another 90-degree right-hand corner coming back onto the start.
Yeah, and a
finish straight.
Yeah, and then you can see a very, very simple layout for Watkins Glen, especially the cup track. Of course, a little bit more difficult with some more undulation, especially the elevation change and the complexity of the corners. But even though it's a simple layout, again, you're not necessarily racing the track in this particular race. It's definitely going to be more of the drivers than anything else. You see drivers coming through the bus stop a little bit sideways.
Yeah, this race is all going to be about managing traffic, managing gaps, managing when you catch the driver ahead of you so that you can time a pass right, and keeping up your momentum. This is going to be a very heavy momentum race that we have here on our hands today, with just the flowing nature of this track. And I mean, there's a reason it's one of the most popular tracks in iRacing and in particularly the United States, if not the world. It's just a very fast and flowing track, whether you're on the cup circuit like we are today or the full boot circuit, which most sports car series would run. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a track that makes you feel like you can attack it and challenge it every lap. So there's a reason it is one of the most historical racetracks in the country.
It is. And also quickly, before we go ahead with the rest of the coverage and the race itself, want to give a quick shout out to our this series' sponsor, 42 Stitches. Whether it's that one piece for that special gift or 1,000 to make your organization stand out, 42 Stitches has you covered. Custom embroidery and heat transfer on a wide variety of items, shirts, hats, jackets, even flame retardant applications where safety is a concern. Check us out at 42stitches.com and shoot us an email to info@42stitches.com to get your project started. But as qualifying starting to wrap up here, these guys had 15 minutes of qualifying, only 3 minutes or so remain. I see Brandon Hawkins, which is a new notable name in the front of the order. I don't remember, or recall if this driver has been here in previous weeks, but I don't. If my memory serves me of the 60 cars we have, I don't think I remember seeing this name on the list. So very solid run for him.
Yeah, very impressive. As I also am with you, I don't think that I have seen him in this series before, for at least the races that I've covered and watched on SYM TV here. But we have right now Austin Winter, very well-known name to the series, in first place with a 126.232, and right behind him, Hawkins is trailing at a 26.423. Oh, Jerry McAreevy, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but he just popped up to second place with a 26.412.
Yeah, Jerry McAreevy, yeah, you're pretty close on that. Don't blame you. With some of the names being as difficult as they're pronounced. But Jerry jumping up into second place in his 67 machine. This is a notably good qualifying effort for his car. Looking at Daniel Sadler, he's been having an okay season. It's been mostly outside the top 10 for him. So hopefully a solid run can turn his frowny face on the car to a smiley face here as he comes out of the final corner. He's trying to improve his qualifying time again. Only three. I'm actually kind of surprised. 3/10 off of the guys up ahead, which is a lot bigger spread than I thought between the top 5 at least. But we'll see here. Once qualifying is coming to an end here, how much these guys are going to jump off in pace. Rafael Berbagal in the 23 car. He's currently sitting in 7th place. That was after, if I'm not mistaken, had a win. Yes, had a win at Tsukuba. So he's looking to get win number 2 here in this 23 machine.
Yeah, you can see all these cars are very much trying to manage the perfect gap between themselves and the car ahead to take full advantage of the draft around this very fast circuit, but also making sure that they don't get too close and then end up having to hurt their own lap time by having to slow up a bit just to make a corner, as we see a crash outside of turn 1.
Yeah, and speaking of a crash, this is a good time, better than any, to talk about the S's, especially coming through the opening lap. We've seen in several series on SYM TV, be it sports cars or stock car racing around here, that the S's typically tend to be a place of disaster. Especially the exit of turn 1 as well. We've seen pileups and the track being entirely blocked, and that can definitely happen in the S's as well. Do you think, especially after seeing how capable these drivers are, this group of drivers, do you think we might see a turn 1 wreck, or a lap 1 wreck, I should say?
I wouldn't put money on it. These guys know what they're doing. They've raced with each other all season. They're very hard racers, very clean racers. Might be some contact, but I don't think it's. I wouldn't necessarily expect or guarantee that we're going to have any issues. What I think you will see for sure, with the way that you can attack turn 1 in so many different ways, whether you go in and slide wide and use up all of the runoff, or you kind of hold it tight, or you even just take a little bit of a middle ground between those two options. I think you will see probably mid-pack and beyond a little bit, at least 2 wide, probably 3 wide coming into the start of the S's, and at that point you really need to get down to at least double file to make it through there with these cars at the speeds they're at. It's not too dangerous to get through there at 2 wide. They have plenty of space to make that work. But with the way that these cars draft, I'm expecting potentially even 3 wide going into the bus stop for the first lap, which is probably going to be the first place I would expect to see trouble from these guys if they're not able to get themselves sorted before they get to that braking zone for the bus stop.
Yeah, it's also 3 wide. I would barely consider 2 wide being able to work around here, let alone 3 wide. So we'll see, especially considering how small these cars are. If guys are going to try it on the opening lap here, as qualifying wrapping up with the checker flag in the air, these drivers can complete a lap if they've already started. Notably, here's an interesting thing: David Gaspers. I wasn't sure if he's in this race because I normally expect to see him, top 10, very least top 20. He is all the way back in 51st.
Yeah, I've seen him on track a bit here. I followed him around and watching what he's doing. He seems to be, I'm not sure if it's aggressive or if he's not happy with the way the car's handling, but he seems to be out of shape through particularly the bus stop. And It's possible. I mean, this is how many cars we got on here? 50.
We have 60, I think, pretty much. Actually, I have more than 60.
We have over 60 cars.
62.
And as usual, I'm seeing Yannick Chauvin has not put in a time, so that'll be fun to watch him climb up through the field, as it'll be mostly draft passes and
Ooh,
it'll be fun to follow. But yeah, with 60 plus cars on the track here in qualifying, you got 15 minutes. It's very easy to get out there and just be completely unable to find a good clean lap. To be able to put up there on the board, and it's possible that Gaspers just has been completely unlucky in trying to do that. I can't imagine that he's that far off just on pace alone.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see him try to climb back up from 50 first. I mean, I definitely think he's a good driver. I mean, obviously he's in second place in the standings for a reason, but to come back up again from 50 first place is a very tall order for anyone, especially only in 40 minutes. If this was a 24-hour race, I'm saying, yeah, sure. Got a full day to get it done, but 40 minutes is a big ask. So we'll see if the one can. I think definitely for him and I will be a good finish. Would be in the top 10, even top 15, top 20. So keep an eye on the one of Gaspers to see how he's going to climb up. But starting on pole is going to be Austin Winter, in as opposed to his name. And I hate to make this joke, but I have to at this point. And this is more of a surprise than anything. He's still not gotten a win this season, and that's after having 4 or 5 top 5 finishes. So he's been close on many occasions, but has not been able to get across the line first. He's been so close, but so far with 2 podiums as well. So we'll see, starting on pole, if he's going to be able to finally get the job done here at Watkins Glen. We'll take you down to the grid in just a second here to set up your starting lineup. And we'll go through it here. Starting on pole, as you mentioned, is going to be Austin Winter in the 033. Next to him, Mitch Weatherly going to be lining up in second place in the 4 cars. Starting in third, Jerry McAreevy in the 67. Next to him, Brandon Hawkins in the 99 in fourth.
Yeah, after that, in fifth place, we have Felix Samoyes trying to gain points on David Gaspers for second place in the championship, with Daniel Sadro behind him. Gorka Iturit in 7th place, and Rafael Berbagal, a favorite here to potentially win this race, starting 8th.
Back we find Yuri Zorts in 9th place in the 82 car. Florence Arabian in 10th in the 042. Steve Ray lined up in 11th in the coincidentally the 11th car. The number 11 car. Rodrigo Duran in 12th.
Emil Orza takes 13th place in qualifying, with Ian Haycox 14th place following behind him. 15th is Michael Dobek and Bob Kern, I believe.
Yep, Bob Kern in 16th. Bobby West going to be lined up in 17th in the 89 machine, with Richard Franco in the 273 lined up in 18th. Steven Nelson in 19th in the 56th, and Adam Bradshaw will round out your top 20. And we'll let the rest of that scroll across the bottom of your screen, so we can just keep our throats clear, because there's a lot of names to go through again with over 60 cars, which is notably they've been cutting it off at 60 for all the previous events. This is the first time we've actually seen it go over with 62. Spec Racer Ford is set to go green here at Watkins Glen, but as you see the field lined up, everyone getting ready to go, and the pace car to go for its pace up before we go green for 40 minutes at Watkins Glen. And Eric, what do you think is going to be, out of all the corners around this track, especially many iconic corners, what do you think is going to be the biggest trouble spot?
I think the bus stop. The bus stop, because of how much you want to attack those curbs, but how easy it is to hit them the wrong way and upset your car. That's going to be the most difficult aspect of this race today, is managing that bus stop, particularly in traffic, as I'm sure we'll see 2 wide through there at some point today. And so when you're dealing with traffic and you can't get away from everyone, and you have to rely on everybody hitting their marks, it's very possible for people to get that wrong. And again, those curbs could wreak havoc on the field here today. But other than that, I think the rest of the corners here are pretty straightforward. The more difficult corners, if any of them you could say here are technically difficult, would be down in the boot section, which we are not racing here today. So I think for the most part, the bus stop's going to be the one place you have to really worry about, and everything else is going to be hitting one of the 2 or 3 lines you could potentially take through the corner, and maintaining the momentum and keeping part of, for these guys up front at least, is going to be that group of 4 to 6 cars, which we normally see kind of break away during these races. But I want to mention one thing that I don't think we've brought up, and it's possible maybe you didn't bring it up because you already knew it, but I do not see our point leader, Maurizio Naselli, here in this race today. So that could be big implications for championship if Gaspers is somehow able to come through the field.
Yeah, and I think what I imagine part of that is, I believe, he is not here because of the drop weeks we have. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these guys have at least 2 or 3 drop weeks. We'll get that sorted out for the final race next week at the Phoenix Road Course. So we'll have to see there, but I believe that's probably why either he took it off or he had something else to do, but he does have drops to account for. That being said, that allows for anyone else in behind to, potentially take us up some solid points, because Naselli, a notable front runner. In fact, I'm actually looking here, and all of his starts this season has finished no lower than 4th, which is extremely impressive considering the field size we have.
Yeah, when you look at the amount of cars that come to these races every week, and you can come out of the season saying your worst finish was 4th, then you've done something special.
India's field here rolling through the final few corners. 62 Spec Racer Fords lined up and ready to go as the pace car dives on into pit road. The field in control of Austin Winter as he's firing off to the green, and we are green here at Watkins Glen.
It's like a little bit of a stack up through the middle and rear of the field, but so far everyone seems to be okay. And big wreck down the front.
Oh, yeah, and a very big wreck, and I think that was started from Mitch Weatherly. I think he missed a gear and a huge pileup. Wow, you can see cars going flying end over end, and this was talking about a turn 1 lap 1 incident, more or less, at the start of this race, but we continue to go green, at least the first half of the field. The rest of them in outer carnage here as we continue on.
That is extremely unfortunate, and when you have 60 cars heading down the front straight into turn 1, something like that goes wrong in the middle of the field, you're going to take out a lot of competitors. And yeah, that's really not how any of these guys wanted to see this race go, not how we wanted to see this race start, but sometimes things go wrong. Like, that's part of racing, so we'll have to try to get replays at it when we can here. But staying with the race right now, Austin Winter has been able to put a little bit of a gap for 2nd place here, almost a second.
Ooh, and a few drivers. Yeah, a few
So
drivers up in front going a little bit wide, notably Jerry McAreevy. Now he's side by side with Felix Simoes as they head off into turn 6. Yeah, well, if you're wondering about the replays, we'll take a look at them after the race. I've learned from the past, probably not the best in this series to go to replays mid-race because a lot of stuff tends to happen. So we'll take an in-depth look at the very end of the race, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot to go over. But as we complete lap 1, Austin Winter is going to be your leader ahead of Felix Simoes and a few others as they're all trailing in behind. And at least the front part of the grid got through the start pretty clean.
Yeah, I want to take a moment here to go back to what you were talking about with Austin Winter, where we've seen him towards the front of the field a lot. He's been part of these breakaway packs at the front of the field in a handful of these races this season, and generally just has not been able to execute when he needs to around the time that the pit stop cycles through that everyone will have to be making here today as well. And it's usually the pit stop cycle or typically that issue of contact we'll have within that lead pack of cars that takes place late in the race that he's always just seemed to come out on the wrong end of. But today, when you don't have the championship leader Naselli in the race, Gaspers is back in 50th place. We're not even sure if he's made it through that opening lap wreck here. This is an opportunity for him to maybe come out of here with a win today. So this is going to be big for him to try to keep this lead and even maybe break that 1 second gap to Simoes behind him and kind of make this all his own.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to check now through to find where Gaspers ended up. I actually can't see where he is. Getting through, there's so many cars to go through to find his number 1 machine. Up there he is in 27, so he did make it on through. And moved up a significant amount of the order, pretty much cut his deficit to the front in half.
Yes, his car looks like it is clean and in perfect running order, so he must have been lucky and good enough to get through that major debacle at the beginning of this race.
Yeah, looking back at another battle going on, Emil Orza and Steve Ray fighting in for 11th spot. We'll also see up ahead. I think that's Cedra. No, that is not Cedra. That's, I think, Gorka Turret I saw out of line on the back of the 23 Berbegol. So the teammates up in front Would you say it's even worth working together at a place like Watkins Glen with the draft so important? Is it actually going to help you having teammates to work with, or is it more of a hindrance, if anything?
Regardless of what you think, if it's a hindrance or a help, it's a necessity. It's going to happen no matter what. As we can see, Austin Winter had about almost a second lead last time through this section of the course, and now he's got Felix Samoy's
Oh, a big wreck. Sorry to cut you off. Big wreck in turn 6 involving Bob Kern and I think Michael Dobek in the 142. As the guys were almost 3 wide.
He was our Spec 2 leader.
Oh.
Until this happened, this is going to hurt him. He seems damaged. He looks like he's going to have to come to pit road for a fix.
Yeah, he's limping the car back home. We'll take another look here at what happened. We caught a glimpse of it. Looking at it live. An alternate angle, looking at Bob Kern to the inside, just got into Dobek, sent him around, and also another car. Trying to see who that is. Couldn't quite get a hold of who that was.
Really looked like a lot of indecision on Bob Kern's in whether he wanted to try to make this pass attempt here.
We'll take one final look and then we'll go back up to the lead. We can see, yeah, there was a little bit of an indecisiveness up that took out the 142. Going back up to our leaders, they're looking pretty dicey here heading into the bus stop. I wanted to actually take a look as the gaps were close between them. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. This is just a few seconds before these guys going at the moment. And this is another thing, too. Considering how draft-dependent this race is going to be for these drivers, is it worth pushing so hard up in the front like this? Or would you rather just kind of sit back and relax?
It all comes down to what your pace is. If you think you can hang on with Felix and Austin up here at the front of the field, then I wouldn't mind sitting in third or fourth place.
Ooh, Samoy's almost hitting the wall.
Yeah, he really got through the exit of that final corner a little bit shaky, and Winter now has the line going into turn 1 to retake the lead. But if you can keep pace with the 31 and the 033, then I think running third or fourth is not a bad plan at the moment. But part of why we see Felix and part of these lead battles so often in this series is that he is fairly aggressive in trying to be in the lead and trying to be up front and in control of the races as much as he can be. And so when things do happen that cause the field to break up a bit, he's usually ahead of it. So that's also an aspect to the balance of how you want to get through this race and how much you want to use up your car.
Yeah, you can hear it too as we're riding aboard Rafael Barbagal. He was just letting off the gas, keeping it patient and behind the two leaders, and Samoy's was giving a push to Winter to try to build a little bit of a gap. And speaking of which, you can see the top 5 more or less have broken away. Brandon Hawkins back to Florence Arabian leading a second group of drivers with Jerry McAravy, Yerndi Swords, Rodrigo Duran, and Dan Cedro in 51 Machine rounding out your top 10. That second group.
And I believe, checking in on our Spec 2 race, now that Bob Kern has had problems that he's had, I believe it's Miro Rasky in the 205 that has taken over the lead for Spec 2, and it looks like he's got a pretty decent lead over what his next competitor would be, which looks to be Bob Kern, who has now rejoined the race in potentially 22nd, as long as my timing and scoring is not messed up.
Yeah, and as you see, Araski, he's trying to work his way up through the order. He's 5.6 seconds back from 13th, but again, doing very well as the leading Spec 2 driver. So we'll see if he can continue this charge up and maybe make up a few spots, if not hold his position steady for at least for now. But looking back up at our leaders, nose to tail, Samoy looks like he's actually just he looks like he's stopped trying to make a charge at Winter for now. And I'm curious to see if we wait into the pit stops. And we've seen in the pit stops in the past typically break up the field. So I'm curious to see if that's going to have the same effect here, or if we're going to see these guys be more compact and close together.
Yeah, I think now everyone's kind of found a rhythm. You've got this lead pack of 5 cars going back to the number 99 of Brandon Hawkin, who he's got damage, but he's hanging in with that lead group. So I think as long as he's able to stay close enough behind He's not going to feel, he might be able to get by without feeling the effects of that damage, but if he were to lose any more space and start getting the air directly onto his nose, I think you might see him start to drop back. But behind him in 6th place is the 82 of Yurny Zoritz, and he's leading the second group, which have definitely calmed down. They don't seem to be racing each other very hard, and I think they all kind of know that they need to just run in a line and try to catch the pack ahead before the pit stop cycle, so that they have a shot to finish in that top 5, if not compete for the win here.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the gap there. Last lap through between Yurny Zoritz leading the second group and Brandon Hawkins tailing the leading group. And you can see on screen there that they've lost about a little over a tenth, which is not the end of the world, though they do need to start making in gains. As you see, can't really do that when they're side by side as Rodrigo Duran. He just went for a pass on Zoritz, so he will now be taking part of that lead group. And do you think that was planned? Do you think he was using the slingshot to his advantage, or do you think he just wanted the spot?
Yeah, it's all about not cramping down on your momentum. If you can swap positions, I think we see this in IndyCar a lot too, particularly like on the ovals, and even just a couple weeks ago in the Indy 500. That if you can kind of swap positions via the draft and not hold each other up, you're actually quicker doing that and working together that way than if someone were to just kind of stay behind or force themselves to stay behind and push, because that's not taking advantage of the ultimate speed that you do have.
Also an update too, notably for David Gaspers, up inside the top 20 for the number 1 machine. You can see him trailing another group of drivers led by led by Kurt Nunez in the 18, and then Rasky, again, the Spec 2 race leader at the moment. Gasper's trying to catch up to this group of drivers, and I gotta say, from 51 to 19th, 51st to 19th, done a fantastic job working up through the order. We're only a quarter of the way through the race.
Particularly getting through that first lap wreck on the start of the race. It'll be interesting when we go back and look at that after the race to see exactly where he was in relation to everything that went down, and what he had to do to get by with seemingly no damage to his car, because that definitely looked difficult to do. But just one more update on, one of our favorite things to watch in these races is Yannick Chauvin coming from the rear of the field. It seems he must have been caught up in that incident on the start, because he is running 54th and 1 lap down. So that's unfortunate, as I think we expected a lot of highlights from him today.
Yeah, here's the funny thing. I don't know. Did you watch the Nürburgring race last week?
I was not able to watch all of it, but I watched a handful.
Okay, so did you see the part where Chauvin actually ended up qualifying?
No, but I do remember seeing he was in the field. He was further up the field.
Yeah,
and I was surprised.
Yeah, and so the reason was, and this is an interesting little thing about iRacing, so they had 15 minutes to qualify like they normally do, and you might think, oh, that's enough time to, at least start a lap and then you get a finish. But the problem was, since no one finished a lap, I think the sim assumed that no one was qualifying, so it didn't even give them the extra time to finish the lap. So no one essentially qualified, and it set them by the time they put to get into the session. So Yannick actually had a really solid qualifying position, I think, in 12th. Where it normally seems to start, outside in 50th, even though we only had like 30 some odd cars. But he did really well until the last few laps and had some damage and got involved in a wreck that took himself out. But it was a really solid run, and again, I still want to see him qualify for these races, because he's a very fast driver. But looking back up at our leaders again, still running nose to tail for them. Taking a look at the second group, they've actually, it seems like they've started to make some headway. And it's not much, but it's something, or at least maintaining the gap. It seems like they are starting to make some sort of inroads, a few tenths here and there.
Yeah, they're about 3 seconds behind the leader of Felix Samoys right now, so we'll keep an eye on that gap, and hopefully for entertainment value, they'll bring this pack up together by the time we hit the halfway mark, or at least the pit stop cycle, as we are about 20 minutes, I believe, into the race, and we are looking. I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen people making pit stops. We've seen as early as 12 minutes into these races, guys have made pit stops, but nobody seems to be taking that early stop strategy here today.
And notably Steve Ray, who's also been one to typically pit early in these races. He either pits really early, pits really late. Looks like this occasion he decided to pit early here. One of the first notable frontrunners to come in. A few others have come in, notably Samuel Dick in his 119, Adam Bradshaw in the 5 he's made. his pit stop for the day. Well, as Tim Vandermolen in the 20, he's coming to the pits. Actually, I think these might have been for damage because they only spent a second or so down in the pits. That was for fuel for these drivers. But interested in seeing how these guys try to stay out, if they try to stay out, and maybe benefit from staying in a group rather than by yourself.
Yeah, it looks like we have Austin Winter, who has gone back to the lead after having Felix Samois leading for a while. So they're just still doing their thing, but they are pulling away again from that second pack. So whatever they're doing here up front is working a little bit better than what that second pack is doing. They're behind them, so those other guys are going to have to figure out something different to try in order to close this gap to the top 5.
Yeah, and this is the thing too. Now running in this second pack, maybe is it worth potentially trying to? If you feel like you're being held up, is it worth coming in early and pitting? And getting yourself some clean air, or is the draft just too important to, stay in this draft and just kind of hope for the best?
I think how fast this track is, how much full throttle time there is, or a lot of throttle time. I think pulling out of the draft and then getting out there and running by yourself, I think you're only hurting yourself. At best, I think you might be able to match the times if you're really good and really hitting your marks, but I'd imagine that you're still going to be losing time to cars that are in a tight pack like this first or second group here.
Taking a look at some other action going on. Speaking of Yannick Chauvin, you can see him. Oh, that is not Chauvin. That is not. Oh, that is Chauvin, actually. Sorry, I forgot that he's a lap down. Dealing with some cars on the lead lap, with himself being a lap down. We're looking at Michael Dobek, who we saw involved in that earlier incident with Bob Kern, as well as Kenneth Batley, Bobby West, this group as well, fighting for position. Gaspers, however, inside the top 15. And
strong showing from him being able to come back that way.
Yeah, I want to see if I can get this working. Going to take a look at our leaders and curious to see how his pace is faring. And he's actually going by himself, is going faster than Felix Samois, currently sitting in second place. That's an interesting little note there.
Well, if anyone can do it, it's going to be Gaspers.
Absolutely. Curious to see if we can keep this up as he comes back across the line. This time through, waiting for the lap to update, still faster, only by a tenth, and he's sitting 17 seconds back, so it's going to take a lot for him to get back up, but so far so good for him, definitely doing what he needs to get done. A few more drivers on down on pit road. Fred DeSays and Emil Orsa have come in to get service to their cars, so around half the field has come into the pit, still waiting on the other half to make their stop, as the leaders are dealing with some lap traffic that is really starting to get in the way, especially through the bus stop.
Yeah, I was waiting to I was going through trying to find out what happened, because I see, I saw Miro Rasky, who was our Spec 2 leader, drop behind, but I haven't seen him register as having come to pit lane, but was not able to find why his lap time was for one of his recent laps was fairly high, but it looks like he may have lost that lead in Spec 2.
Yeah, it's currently being led by Kenneth Batley, who we were talking about just a little bit earlier. I think Esky's, I don't know if he's off the pace or what's going on with him, but he's starting to drop back, and he could be one of those drivers that got a little bit lucky coming through the damage, ended up taking the lead, and some of the other faster guys have been now working their way back up, so he's lost touch with Batley here. So Rasky's here, and then there's Batley, the current Spec 2 leader. We'll see if he can hold on. Neither driver's yet to make a pit stop.
Yeah, I just saw Rasky had a lap time of 140, so he lost about 13 seconds in one lap and could not find why, due to iRacing glitches and him disappearing. But yeah, not quite sure what happened to him, but we now have a new face in the lead of Spec 2, as used to seeing Bob Kern as one of the mainstays in that category here, as there are two categories, Spec 1 and Spec 2. Spec 1, any driver with a number under 200, I believe.
Yep, any driver under 200.
And then any car with a number of 200 or higher is Spec 2, and it's all based on iRating classifications, so that there's a little bit of everything out there for these guys to race for. which is a noble thing for a league to try to provide, especially when you have grids of 60 plus cars every week.
It always ends up meaning that you have someone to race with, and for Bentley, he's trying to race away from Uraski, so we'll keep an eye on him. As he started back in 34th, is up into 17th, so it's been a good day for the 222s. Keep it up, as David Gaspers has just gotten past Kurt Nunes for 12th place, and I don't think this one car is in winning condition, but he's already approaching. I was saying if he got a top 10, it would be a good day for him. He's just 2 places shy of it. Problem is, the next 2 places are 11 seconds up the road, so he's got a lot of driving to do as we're just about halfway through this race.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that it looks like Gorka Turret has fallen off the pack, this lead pack that's now just a 4-car breakaway at the front, with Brandon Hawken in danger as the gap between him and 3rd place is starting to open up, and with the damage on his car, it may be difficult for him to close that gap back to getting back on his bumper. So we could be whittling down this lead pack here to the top 3 fairly soon, but for now, Turret has fallen back, and curious if that might even help that second group with as they start to catch him, getting another car in front of them and helping them with speed via the draft. So not necessarily over yet, but Austin Winter and Felix Samoys are definitely have solidified themselves as the 2 cars to beat here today, and we have just under 20 minutes to figure out how these guys are going to get it done.
Yeah, we just saw right there showing a replay of what happened to the 41. He just messed up the bus stop, and it wasn't a major mistake, but still messed up the exit of it. And I think that's why he ended up losing around a second, and that's kind of compiled itself with him completely losing the draft. And you're talking about that second pack, if this is a good or bad thing. I want to say that it's a good thing, especially because the guy leading that second pack at the moment is his teammate, Rodrigo Duran. So we'll see if maybe they can get hooked up and somehow work together, or come up with a way to get back at the leaders. So I don't think it's quite over yet. We'll have to see. This could be a chance for that second pack to reel themselves back in.
Yeah, definitely a possibility, and but I think what they're going to need most is for this lead pack of 4 to start mixing it up a bit. But at the moment, it looks like Austin Winter and Felix Samoys are fairly okay with just kind of running and trading the lead every once in a while. To make sure.
And I'm pretty sure that these drivers in front, I'm sure they definitely know that if they start mixing it up, they're going to lose time, which is exactly the reason they've kind of almost a gentleman's agreement, just to keep the 4 cars in line in the order rating, and they can see these are the leaders coming by now. Winner Simoes leading. Then we find a Turret, Duran, and the rest of that second group. So not too far behind, but it's enough to keep them out of the race, at least for now, with 18 minutes remaining, and we're starting to get closer and closer to at least our leaders potentially coming in for green flag pit stops.
Yeah, so when do you think we're looking for those green flag pit stops from this lead pack, as we are now with 18 minutes left? And, usually I think we typically see most of the field come around halfway, but it seems more and more as the season goes on, everyone's taking that later strategy of coming in as late as you can and shortening that second stint.
Yeah, I think these guys honestly might just run the tank out. You were talking about it too earlier with guys in that second pack, as you see now, Winner and Samoy side by side. I think these guys are just going to try to run the tank out as much as possible, and if not, just kind of come in with everyone in the group you're with. So, because you're talking about how dependent the draft is for these drivers, and I think they're going to want to stick in it as long as they can. So I think they're going to probably run closer to almost 10 minutes left on a tank, maybe even less than that. We'll have to see how low the tanks do get for these drivers. If anyone tries to push it a little bit too far, there's a wreck coming out of the carousel. Trying to see who it is. See the 919.
It looks like there were 2 cars involved there potentially.
Yeah, Maximiliano Tomasin I see involved now. Is Dominique Guerrero is the other car that's facing the wrong direction. Let's see what happened to both these drivers. If not at least one of them. There's actually a multi-car incident. So this first actually started with Maximiliano de Tomasin. Get a hold of it. There we go. He's actually already off the pace, so okay, here we go. Now we'll get... This is a very long incident.
Yeah, I kept seeing he was like, he's wrecking all the way back then too.
This is entering the bus stop. And
that seemed like a little bit of miscommunication on who was going to let who go and how quickly.
That was a 59 car that he was involved with. So there he got that little bit of damage. He's getting back up to speed.
Oh, and then 2 cars ahead of them.
Eesh. There's a
What is happening?
there's a lot of wrecks going on back there, and so Tomasin got hit a second time, and then I'm not sure this is the third time you see him way off the track to the side here.
Broken.
Oh, and then up ahead of him, man, everyone was just going at it, and so Dominic Bureau, his instance was completely separate.
Really weird time in the race for things to have broken down like that throughout one section, but.
And they're all separate incidents too. That's the weird thing. Maybe they're not completely. Oh, whoa! Someone just went flying off into the tire barrier, and
that looked like potentially hardware failure.
Yeesh.
That was kind of crazy. That, I mean, not even a lap. It was more of like a quarter of a lap. That was just carnage.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Oh, there's Vargas involved in the other one. I want to get one last view here, and we'll go back up to the leaders because. Oh, that wasn't Vargas actually. I'm not actually sure who that was, so to go back live, I don't want to spend too much time looking for who that was, but yeah, that was just a sheer amount of carnage. I think we saw 6 or 7 cars get involved in completely different incidents within about 30 seconds. That was pretty interesting to see, but back up to the lead, not much has changed up in front. Still got our top 4, then Rodrigo Duran, Gorka Tur in their own kind of second pack at the moment, and then Yerny Zoritz leading Arabian, Sadro, and actually, oh, he's not leading Gaspers. Gaspers still... looking at 16 seconds back to the next pack, up in 10th place.
So before we were rudely interrupted by all of that, although it looks like Gaspers has moved himself up to 10th, potentially via some pit stop action here, as I'm pretty sure he has not come yet. But, you know, before all hell broke loose a lap ago, I was going to ask you, when you're dealing with a race, we're seeing it here today because of the track and car combination. Most of the time, when you get in these situations where you're relying on the draft and you don't want to pit without draft help, or you're in the situation that these first group of 4 cars and that second group are in, it's usually you find yourself in that spot running a NASCAR race around Daytona or Talladega. And I'm curious, what would your strategy be? Are you talking over the chat with the other drivers to try to plan when to come and like work with your competition? I think DW on NASCAR used to call it co-opetition.
Yeah.
Are you are you trying to make that happen, or are you just kind of like, I'm going to make up my own mind, and however that relates to the cars around me is just going to be however it works out?
Yeah, I think if you can, I think if it's an option to, if you have some buddies you might be willing to work with, you know, maybe if you can somehow use the PM function while you're driving, which I don't entirely recommend. If you can somehow, you know, relay a message or just go over the chat, just be like, hey, you want to pit now or something, you know, or you can do that, and maybe they'll want to work with you, because it's if anything, it's in all your best interest to stay together as a leading group, especially. So we'll see if the top 4 they decide to come together. A lot of times, what happens is, you know, one guy will call out, and then the rest of the guys in the group will follow in, which I have a feeling we might see here with these guys, but you never know. So we'll see if they will get broken up or they'll stay together. Notably, actually, one guy might be broken up. Brandon Hawkins, you saw him get held up by the 59. Still not entirely sure which car that is, but he was involved in that incident we saw with several other drivers earlier on.
Looks like coming through this lap, traffic, Samoy's winner and Burbagal have been able to put a bit of a gap between them and the 99 of Brendan Hawkin. It's going to be important for Hawkin to get back onto the back of Burbagal as soon as he can. To keep touch with the lead and potential fight for a podium finish here today. As we've documented a few times already, he's got damage to the front end of his car, so he starts to get clean air on it and run by himself. His lap times are going to start to plummet. Yeah,
and more and more leaders starting to come in. Yerny Zoritz and Florence Arabian coming in for their stops now this race. Both these drivers on pit road, so we pretty much have only the top 10 drivers, more or less, have yet to come in for their stops. Everyone else has pit and is good till the end. When will these leaders decide to come on down? It looks like they're starting to get a little bit racy up near the front. Boys leading over Winner, and then Burbagal here, top 3.
Yeah, I think we're getting to about that limit of how far they can go. So I'd expect, and I think you're starting to see some of the tire wear. Samoy's comes through the bus stop and gets a little bit sideways on the second left-hand turn in that bus stop chicane. But I think we're just about there, where in the next lap or two, we're probably going to see these guys come to pit lane out of necessity, and it's going to be all about how hard you can get to pit lane and get off pit lane is going to determine if you're part of the group that will decide the winner of this race.
Yeah, we only got the top 6 now. Everyone else has come on into pit lane, so just waiting on the top 6 drivers, who I imagine, considering how many other drivers are coming, I imagine these guys might be coming in this time by. Everyone but Burbagal comes in.
Yeah, that one I'm curious if Burbagal was like knew they were coming in and decided purposely not to, or if he thought they were all going to stay out for another lap. Maybe he was able to save enough fuel to go another lap, and nobody else was, so he was, in his mind, he was just going to stay out from the beginning. But we'll see what he's able to do by himself for a lap. I'm assuming he'll come in next time, and then we'll see how he comes out of the pit cycle in relation to this group of cars who are all going to be running together.
Yeah, and you can see the jacks drop for these drivers, and you can win and lose a lot of positions on pit road, and more or less they're going to come out in as they came in. Actually, that being said, Brandon Hawkins gained a spot over Samoys, and now on the back of Winner, who should be cycling out to a race lead, if not very close to it. So wait and see where Burbagal is going to kind of end up in this mess. But there you see Winner, Hawkins, Samoys, Duran, and Gorka, your top 5 at the moment.
Importantly, Brendan Hawkins, not only did he gain a spot, but he has a clean car for the first time since the beginning of this race. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to take advantage of that, and maybe that damage was hindering him before, and which relegated him to settling for running 3rd, 4th, or 5th. And now we'll see if he has something to mix it up with Samoys and Winner here, as the 3 of them seem to have separated themselves from. I don't see Burbagal really in the picture with them at all. Oh, he's still out, isn't he?
Yep, and now he's finally come on in. I can't imagine he had much fuel left to work with, but as he comes down into pit road, this can be interesting here, seeing where he gets shot out in the order.
Winner is now entering the final corner.
This is Burbagal down in the pits. Here is Winner, as you're saying, coming out of the final corner. Now he's going to come across the line, and Burbagal should be released now. There he is. He spent a bit longer than some of the other guys down in pit road.
Corner.
As he come on out, didn't really do much for him.
No, but he's still in the fight. He's part of that top 4 that is going to be able to settle this between themselves with just over 8 minutes left here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, I imagine he's probably hoping to gain a little bit more, but at least at the very least didn't lose the pack, which is the big thing. So it's still a 4-car race for the lead here with under 10 minutes remaining. And now you can imagine, you can see Samoys now. These guys are going to start getting a lot more aggressive, what we've seen in some other races. There you see now Burbagal immediately out of the pits. He's going to try to make a move on Hawkins, who's being a little bit defensive and a little bit shy. So Hawkins going to fall back to 3rd place. Burbagal up into 2nd.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't think you want to be the leader on the last lap. After taking the white flag, I think you're a sitting duck at that point. So I don't think you want to be the leader, but you also don't want to be 3rd or 4th because you can't do anything from that far back. So it's going to be a lot of fighting to get to 2nd place between 3 of the cars. As Winner is, my guess would be hoping that he can get them to race each other so hard that he's able to kind of pull away here, but we'll see how things play out here. 7.5 minutes left.
Yeah, and looking at Ian Haycox at the moment, and he just had a big off. He was right in behind there. You see Dan Sandro up ahead was running in 8th when this happened. Just went through the bus stop, got the curb in the wrong place, and around he went for a long, lazy spin. So Haycox, he was able to recover back into 12th, but he's going to be a little bit annoyed that he was so close to getting a top 10, but it's not quite going to be.
Yeah, it's a familiar sight for me.
I was in a very familiar sight for me, too. So you're not alone in it. I'm very prone to messing up when it counts the most in some races, but at the moment we'll see if any of these guys in front make a mistake, as they're really close together now. Before they're giving some breathing room, that's all gone now.
Yeah, no, they are trying to push each other into potentially making mistakes so they can whittle down the potential contenders here for the win. But Winner's holding strong in 1st, but again, I don't think anyone's trying to pass him. I think they're all just trying to get to 2nd place for that white flag lap.
Yeah, so do you think that they're going to be waiting for that last lap pass, or do you think they're going to try maybe a little bit earlier than that?
I think the only reason Burbagal or whoever may be in second place here over the next couple laps would attempt to pass winner as if they're afraid that they might get passed for second place from behind. Other than that, I don't expect any of them, regardless of who gets up to second place, to make an attempt at winner, as they themselves would just become the sitting duck on that final lap. So I don't think we're going to see a move for the lead until after we see that white flag. But the battle's going to be who's going to get themselves into second place coming to the last lap to have their shot at Austin.
And as these guys come across the line, we're looking at just about 5 laps to go. It's going to be barely 5 laps, but it should be about 5 laps to go left in this race for these drivers as the race is winding down. 40 minutes coming to a close very shortly here for our top 4. They're the main competitors at the moment, so we'll definitely keep an eye on them. As you see now, Samoy's going on the left-hand side, following Winner, Berbegal, and Hawkins on their own side. I gotta say for Hawkins again, or Hawkins, sorry. This has been a really good showing for him, being his first race. Garden 4th is currently still running in 4th place.
Yeah, very impressive. He's kept himself part of the lead group since the beginning of the race, against guys who've been up there all season long and know exactly what to expect from each other. So to put his name in there is no easy feat.
Absolutely. I just want to take another look here as these guys are working through the backstretch. David Gasper, so he was up inside the top 10 due to some people pitting, but still, with the pit stop cycling out, he's brought himself back up into 13. More or less may stay here unless he can catch up to Ian Haycox and Florence Arabian, who are 5 seconds up the road in about 4 minutes, which is going to be a tall order. But again, Gasper is a pretty fast driver, so we'll see if he can get it done. Looking back at our leaders again, a little over 4 minutes remaining, and should be around 4 laps to go for these drivers.
Yeah, you know, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I think with only 1 week left that Naselli probably has this championship wrapped up. But second place was only a 12-point difference between Gaspers and Simoes. So if Simoes can hang on to a top 2 or 3 finish here, if not the win, he can potentially take over that second place in the championship standings. Although from the bit of exposure we've had to Simoes, if they come really close to pushing the 99 off track, I think he's not even interested in second place in points. He just wants to win races.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get it done again. Simoes looking at getting his 3rd win of the season. Winner looking for his first. Berbegal looking for his 2nd. Hawkins, sorry, if he can get it done, he would win on his first start. How impressive would that be? We'll see if he's got anything. He's been, I would say, probably out of the entire top 3, he's been the quietest so far this race. I haven't seen him try to poke his way up to the lead, anything too crazy. So he's been really quiet here, and if he wants to get something done, he's going to have to start piping up, because these guys up ahead are definitely not going to let him on by.
No, and I think what you saw a lap ago with Simoes taking over the lead was exactly what I was pointing out before, that his going for the lead was a byproduct of knowing that he was probably going to lose second place if he didn't try to take first, going down the backstretch into the chicane last time by, and that works out for Austin Winter as he now inherits second place and probably the best position coming to the white flag that he can be on. But it looks like we have probably
I'm looking at
go, or we'll be coming to the white flag this time, maybe.
I'm looking at 3 laps ago. We're gonna barely get to the white flag, but I think around we're gonna be on 2. I say we'll be coming to the white flag with not a lot of time left, so there will be barely enough time for an extra lap to be added. It is going to be close to see now. Winner Ike up ahead. Hawkins trying to take second place. Indeed, he does around Simoes. That's a fantastic pass there. I'll take another look at that because that was a really tight through the bus stop for these guys.
Again, if you look at the run that everyone had, Winner went for the lead because he knew he was going to lose second. And as much as you don't want to be in the lead, I don't think on that last lap, you definitely don't want to be 3rd or 4th. So that was a move out of necessity. Looks like he's got about a half a second lead now. And his hope is going to be that the other 3 behind him keep racing each other that hard, and they're not able to get back to him. But it looks like 2 laps to go this time by.
Yeah, so 2 attempts. So they're going to be happy that extra attempt. Winner's going to be sweating a little bit because now not only is there a gap, but down the long part of this track, they're going to be accelerating. They're going to be able to get a really solid drive. You see Simoes send it to the inside of Hawkins into turn 1. He will get second place and now has a chance of getting a solid draft back to Winner, and eventually they'll also push from Hawken.
Yeah, I think that's going to be goal one, is they have to get back to Austin Winner's bumper before they can worry about taking over second place. And I think they're going to do that as long as they don't mix things up here down the back stretch.
Oh, they don't even need to. They got a huge slipstream. We see Hawken trying to block the 31, but the 31's got a nice draft. Hawken almost had a look to the inside into the bus stop, but backed out. Here's these guys, got a lap and a half left to go. Winner looking pretty solid. His defensive moves so far. Hawken doing the over-under, sorry, to the inside of Samoy's into the carousel.
Samoy's got a little wide on the second left-hand corner of the bus stop there, and that opened the door on exit for Hawken to come through and retake second place, as he is now going to be in the catbird seat.
Comes Berbagal looking up the inside of Samoy's. He's going to get the third place spot as these guys work through the penultimate corner. And now the final corner. They come out of the final turn. They're going to see the white flag in the air. One more lap to go, and either of these four drivers have a solid shot at winning this race. Here we go. One more lap. And also, how about this, through all this, look who appeared in the picture at the very last second, Rodrigo Duran. They didn't mention him at all in fifth place as these guys are side by side into turn one. It's going to be Berbagal that takes second place away from Hawken. And now he's going to set his sights on Austin Winner up ahead. And Winner, he's going to be pretty much defenseless here.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're Berbagal, you're just going to make the move down, or at least attempt to make the move down here going into the chicane, and hope to hold everybody off for the second half of the lap. So we could see 3 wide here any second.
And
wreck, contact, Berbagal around.
Oh, no.
Wrecked.
And I
just taking the lead.
And now Winner side by side with Samoy's, and now it's going to have to yield to him. Sorry about that pulling. I thought I would have got a nice shot of them coming through the trees, but I peeled away for just a second, and 2 cars wrecked out of this. And how about Duran? We just mentioned him on the final lap. He's sitting in third in case something happens between Winner and Samoy's. We'll see if anything does, as Winner's going to get a great run out of the carousel. Will Samoy's give him room? Samoy's going to take the defensive line to the inside, heading to the next corner. Winner, though, with a fantastic run. Duran also with a great run. He's going to throw it up the inside, 3 wide into turn 6. Oh, and they make contact, Duran, and Samoy's making contact out of the final corner. Winner off into the grass, and Duran, who we didn't mention at all, he's going to come to the final corner, and he's going to win this race. How about that? The number 10 of Duran, the underdog in all this, is going to win the race.
That was insane.
How about that?
That was crazy. I can't believe that all broke loose like that on the last lap.
That was absolutely incredible.
And from 5th to 1st on the last lap.
Absolutely incredible stuff, and for Winner, he's going to be disappointed as he gets another second place finish, and it was so close, was a few corners away from getting a race win. Let's take a look at the entire last lap, because we missed the initial inciting incident that started this all off. But here's another look. This is coming through the exit of the S's. And let's see. Oh, Hawken hit, I think, the back of the 23 of Berbagal, and that's what sent him flying sideways. And these two guys...
Hawken just waited about a split second too long to pull out, and they made contact as he was doing it and upset both the cars and caused them both to wreck there. But, at this point, Duran's just thinking, like, get them side by side. Let me take advantage of both of them drafting, and exactly that happens as they're coming down this short chute.
And then here you see he's just deciding up. I got the run. Here he goes up to the inside.
I mean, this was never going to work. Let's be honest.
No, and then he makes contact with Samoy's. I thought he was going to go around at this point. There you see Austin Winner. He goes off into the grass, and unfortunately, that's what caused him to lose it. He was 1 corner away from seeing victory, or potentially seeing victory. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Let's take just a quick another look at what happened with Hawken and Berbagal. Their contact. Here's off the bumper of Berbagal. There you can see the 99 in picture there. And try to give a tap. I wasn't sure. Do you think he was trying to give a tap, or do you think he was trying to open or look for a spot?
I'm sorry. I was looking at the replay on my own. Who are you asking about?
For the 99 of Hawken, do you think that his move on Berbagal, do you think he was trying to look for a lane, or do you think he was trying to give him a shove to help him?
Oh, no. I think if you see, he turns left. I think he was definitely going to try to make it 3 wide on the outside there, and I just think he waited a little bit too long and hit the closing rate. Caused them to make contact when he finally did turn left. I was just going back and looking at the turn 7 incident because I couldn't tell at first if Winner drove himself off track or if he got nudged, but he definitely got hit by Samois after Duran made contact with the 31. So Duran, he says, well, the first two guys are going to wreck themselves out, so may as well take care of the second two and then take on this win. But I mean, that was hard racing. He took the opportunity he had to take. I think anybody else would have done it, and it's unfortunate that contact was involved in deciding this race. But I mean, it was sure entertaining.
Indeed, and we'll cut to break for just a second here. Don't go anywhere because I'm sure two of the drivers in our top 3 are going to have some choice words to say about the race winner. Potentially, they might be fine with it. We'll have to see. And we'll also take a look at the calamity that went on lap 1 on the front straight. So just don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a few minutes with some drivers to interview. And welcome back. We're live here. Felix Samois, your 3rd place finisher, and Felix, you're so close to getting the win there. It was a great battle between you, Winner, and Duran. Unfortunately, didn't end up that way.
Yeah, I mean, the race was really cool. I mean, it was predictable to be like this on this track with this car. So there's always, I mean, yeah, if you don't do anything stupid, we can keep a decent pack for a long time. And in the end, I think I had a good chance of finish first. But I think, yeah, and then what happened? I think Rodrigo was a bit optimistic. His move, yeah, it is what it is. But it was a cool race, man. Props to Austin and all the other guys who kept us first.
Yeah, and it wasn't a race win. It's still a solid 3rd place finish. Looking back at the season, and especially going into the final race next week, you're currently sitting 3rd place in the championship standings, battling with Winner and especially David Gaspers. Do you think you have a shot at potentially getting Gaspers for that 2nd place spot with the drops included?
I think it's difficult. I mean, if I can win the next one, maybe. But I think it's difficult. I mean, yeah, I didn't do the calculations to see what are my chances of going to second. But I mean, the fun racing is what brings us here. So, but winning is always good. So.
Indeed it is, but Felix, unfortunately, even though it wasn't the win here today, I'll look forward to seeing you next race at the season finale at Phoenix.
Oh, thanks guys, good work as always. Thanks for
no problem. And moving on next to Austin Winter. And Austin, man, it seems every time you get so close, it always ends up seeing so far. Really rooting for you, especially to get that win. You were the dominant car, arguably, today. If I'm not mistaken, I think you led the most laps as well, but unfortunately, it all went wrong in the last lap. Walk us through that.
Yeah, first of all, I gotta say thank you to Stevie Ray and you guys for a wonderful season. Stevie's taken off for a vacation after this, and I just want to say thank you again for setting up the league. That last lap, I thought we were in good shape. I thought Felix was going to have the inside there on the penultimate corner, and then I'd have the inside on the final straight, and hopefully drive on to the win. I didn't think Duran would make a move like that to make it 3 wide. I was afraid he would set up for the final straight and have a run, not going side by side. But it kind of surprised me going 3 wide, and then got Felix turned and he bumped me. I had to catch the slide and went off track.
Yeah, and looking at that, hindsight is always 20/20. But looking at that last lap, do you think there might have been anything you could have done or felt you could have done different that might have ended up with you in the winner's circle?
No, I think I was talking about this during the week about if you wanted to be in the first place position or the second place position going into the final lap. And I think I was alone saying you wanted to be in the first place position because you can draft back later. So it happened that way. Felix got the lead through the bus stop, and I figured I'd draft him back there before the second to last corner. And nothing I would have done differently other than kept it on the track.
Yeah, again, unfortunately, winner Austin is going to be second place finish for you, but still got one more race next week at Phoenix. Hope to see you there and potentially also in the winner's circle there.
Yep, thank you guys.
And it doesn't look like we got Austin, it doesn't look like we have Rodrigo Duran, but we have Steve Ray sitting by in the booth. And Steve, I didn't get a whole lot of a view of your race, but how was your race today, especially with that interesting race start?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. My mindset was just to hang in there and try to draft the guys and really just wanted to finish today. This is kind of my last race for quite some time. I'm going full time in the RV and won't have a rig, so this was kind of the last hurrah for a while. And I really just wanted to pop in and say thanks to you guys and thanks for all the Warriors. I keep telling them week after week, it's everybody in this league that makes it so special and what it is. I get the honor of setting it up, or I have had, and it takes everybody, and these guys are the best.
Yeah, I got to say, Steve, also just thanks for giving us a platform for a really awesome series, and just the sheer field counts have been absolutely phenomenal to watch. But also thank you for giving us the opportunity to broadcast, and you also been it's been awesome to work with you for this season.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody. Thanks, Warriors. Really appreciate it. And I will be watching and staying in touch.
And thanks, Steve, again for that. So with that, I think that will wrap up our interviews for this afternoon. That being said, we got some quite a few replays I think to go through, Eric, over that race start. So we're just gonna. Oops, sorry, that was the wrong button I meant to hit there. Put you on the replay splash screen. I'm gonna go all the way back to the start of this race. And we're going to try to figure out what on earth happened to half the field at the start.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see exactly what took place here on the start of the race and where everything kind of went wrong.
So, not entirely sure who... Actually, I do remember briefly what happened. So, one thing I think this started with, particular car, and I actually just heard an explosion. I think that's a very big insight as to what happened here. A little bit further in time. So this all started with Mitch Weatherly here. Oops. We're going to watch him here on the start. We'll actually ride on board with him. Remember, started second place next to Austin Winter. Base car's in. Hit the gas. And there you can hear right there, and I heard him slow on the start, and I was wondering why was he so slow. I thought he missed a gear, but oh yeah, he was just in the middle, and they were 4 wide. Oh yeah,
packed so tightly together that you see someone move out of the way of a car that's pretty much almost stopped on the racetrack there, and the car behind him just had nowhere to go. or any time to react, and that really started everything.
I think it was Hukegox in the 34 that got the first hit, and you could see all the other cars being involved, heavily damaged early on. Also,
I think Gasper's being so far back is what helped him, because he was able to kind of slow up and get through it.
And so this is what he saw back from 51st place. Sorry, he just sees a car going flying in the air. Got to get on the brakes. Get on the brakes. Wow! And he just found a good gap to go. He didn't actually have to slow down. I thought he would have had to come to a near complete stop for that first lap, but managed to make his way on through.
I mean, I've been there before. You're just looking ahead, and all of a sudden a car launches into the air, and you're like, "What is happening?"
I see. Order on ATO just got messed up. Trying to see if I could find Weatherly again. One review of this. Let's say I love having so many cars, but in times like this, it is very hard to find one driver. There we go. Got one more view here from the blimp. Overhead view of all the chaos that ensued.
Really unfortunate for Weatherly. Not really.
Oh, and
sure
that's actually where Hawken got his damage. I was curious where he got that damage from, so that's actually where he ended up picking it up in the first half of the race, and then you can see everyone else getting involved. But you were saying?
Yeah, no, I was just curious, like, what happened? Maybe did he shift to the wrong gear or something? Is that what maybe caused
I think so.
his engine to explode there? And then, then you had Hawken with nowhere to go. But, impressive run by him to deal with most of the race with that damage and then still come out and still have a shot at it until the last lap. And going back to the interviews there, it seemed like both Felix and Austin were pretty upset with the move that Rodrigo pulled, and that'll be something that they got to talk about throughout the week going into next week. Because at the end of the day, Duran has the win. When he looks back on this, is just going to say his name is first. Is not going to tell you how or why. And that, at the end of the day, is the goal. So congratulations to him on taking his win. But definitely going to have some conversations with Felix and Austin about the way that things played out there, because there's some arguments to be had there. But in general, it was another solid, fun, good, close race here in the Weekend Warriors and these SRFs, and very happy to have been here today.
Yeah, indeed. So thanks for being with me, Eric, as well. And with that, it's going to pretty much wrap up coverage here of this series, at least for this week. That, again, mentioned was the penultimate round. Next week will be the final round at the Phoenix Road Course. 2008 version of Phoenix, the road course there. I'm sure for some people watching, they might not have even realized that Phoenix had a road course at one point. Indeed, it did. It's an okay road course. I won't say too much about it. It's decent. It's a decent track. Definitely, and these cars can be pretty fun. So looking forward to seeing just again the sheer amount of cars. It's also fairly small and fairly tight track. So having so many guys coming around there will be absolutely a fun and a blast to watch. As far as coverage on SYM TV, next race we got lined up should be tomorrow on Monday. It'll be 3 wide. Their Full Hard Arts Cup Series with the 87 stock cars. They're going to be looking at Richmond. That'll be a fun race to watch. Eric, aren't you taking part in that series?
Yes, I should be in that race tomorrow night, assuming I'm not needed here in the booth. And looking forward to it. I haven't raced these cars on the short tracks yet, so but they've been a lot of fun every time I've jumped in them. So looking forward to what they're going to drive like on a short track, what the racing is going to be like, and with 3 wide racing here in their final season before they go on hiatus for a bit. So yeah, excited about that coming tomorrow night for myself in the league. And I think maybe you and I should petition the Weekend Warriors to run the Rallycross Phoenix Road Course. What do you say?
That would be a blast to watch, although I'm sure the drivers won't necessarily consider that, but that would be just a lot of carnage to see. I'm sure there'd definitely be a certain amount of carnage if you didn't get that fixed tonight, especially what happened on lap 1. But with that, wrapping up coverage here. So my name is Finney Kuna here with Eric Mickey. We're SYM TV, and we'll be signing out. Thank you for watching.